Hey guys, tonight we're taking a gentle journey to the moon, not the bright circle you see in the sky, but the quiet world beneath it, the one with ancient fire, secret water, and places where the sun has never risen. The moon has stories to tell, and tonight we'll finally listen. The moon has always felt like the quiet friend who shows up every night without asking for attention. It doesn't brag, it doesn't flare like the sun. It just hangs there, glowing softly, like a celestial night lamp designed specifically for Earth. And somehow, despite being the most familiar object in our sky, it carries more secrets than any place we've ever explored. Take a slow breath. Settle in, because the moon has stories, and some of them will gently tilt your imagination just enough to make you forget the day you had. Let's begin with something deceptively simple. The moon always shows you the same face. Not because it's shy, not because it's playing cosmic peekaboo, but because of something called tidal locking, a gentle gravitational tug-of-war that ended in a perfect, silent handshake. Long ago the moon spun fast, showing every side in a cosmic twirl, but Earth's gravity kept tugging at its rocky body, slowing the spin until one day the moon's rotation and its orbit synced up like dancers suddenly finding the same rhythm. Since then, it has kept one face turned toward Earth, unwavering, loyal. A bit clingy, honestly. And so, we see the same craters, the same seas, the same age-old marks every night. Like the moon has a favourite side it insists on showing because it's sure it's the good angle. If the moon ever took selfies, it would absolutely stick to that one side. But the other side, the far side, often misleadingly called the dark side, is a world we never see, a world wilder, scarred, and strangely beautiful. It's not darker. It gets sunlight too. It's just private, like the moon has a secret room it never invites us into. Yet the moon isn't as still as it looks. In fact, it is drifting away from Earth. Not dramatically, not in a pack your bags I'm leaving sort of way, but in a slow, graceful slide outward, about 3.8 centimeters every year. That's the speed your fingernails grow, yes. Our moon is drifting away at the speed of a lazy manicure. It's doing this because the tides, those endless rhythms of rising and falling water, are giving the moon a small push every day, like an ocean-sized farewell kiss. Earth loses a little rotational energy, the moon gains a tiny bit of momentum, and off it goes. Very slowly. Very politely. Millions of years ago, the moon looked larger in our sky, not by magic, but by gravity. If you could stand on an ancient beach and look up, the moon would loom enormous, bright enough to cast long shadows and stir up wild tides that shaped the early coastline. Back then, Earth spun faster too. A day could be as short as 18 hours. Imagine. Less time for work, more time for sleep. Nature had its priorities straight. But to understand the moon's deepest secrets, we must go back far, far further to its dramatic birth. Because unlike most moons that form peacefully, ours began with chaos. Roughly 4.5 billion years ago, a young Earth was minding its own business when a Mars-sized planet, Theia, came barreling in like someone late to a meeting. The collision was violent, unimaginably so. Mountains melted, oceans vaporized, rock turned to liquid light, debris exploded into orbit, and formed a glowing ring around Earth, brighter than any fire humans would ever see. From that glowing ring, the moon was born, not gently molded, but forged in fire. As it cooled, it underwent a transformation. Entire oceans of molten rock hardened into crust. Lava flooded ancient basins, forming the dark plains we now call Maria, seas, though no water ever touched them. Craters from ancient impacts pockmarked its surface. Meanwhile, the far side, untouched by Earth's steadying influence, grew rougher, thicker, more cratered. It is the moon's wild side, the one it never reveals without a spacecraft. And here's the quiet twist. The moon, despite looking dry and dusty, has water. Not lakes, not rivers, but tiny crystals of ice hidden inside some of the coldest shadows in the entire solar system. The moon has places called permanently shadowed regions, deep craters near the poles where sunlight has not touched for billions of years. These places are so cold, so still, that ice can survive untouched since the moon's earliest days. Think of them as ancient cosmic freezers, vaults of frozen history. Some of that water came from comets, some arrived on solar wind, some may even be created by chemical reactions on the lunar surface, and all of it hides in places where the sun never rises, not even a sliver, regions of eternal night. These shadowed areas could one day sustain explorers, providing drinking water, breathable oxygen, even rocket fuel. But strangely enough, they also serve as windows into the past. Some ice grains there might be older than any rock you've ever touched, older than Earth's mountains, older than any fossil, older than the moon itself, remnants of the early solar system preserved in perfect frozen silence. As you lie here tonight, listening, imagine that. At this very moment, just a few 100,000 miles away, sit pockets of ancient water older than anything on Earth, resting in silence on a world that never stirs. The moon's surface also tells time in another way, through lunar quakes. Yes, the moon shakes. Not because it's alive or dramatic, but because its crust expands and contracts as it warms and cools. Lunar nights are unimaginably cold, lunar days scorching hot, and the rock shifts in response, groaning softly like an old house settling at night. If the moon could talk during a lunar quake, it would probably say, "Sorry, just stretching." Every detail, every crater, every grain of dust tells a story billions of years long. And the more we uncover, the more the moon feels less like a lifeless sphere and more like a patient, ancient witness, watching Earth's history unfold in quiet companionship. Tonight, as you breathe slowly and let your thoughts soften, imagine the moon, as it truly is, a drifting archive, a cooling ember of a forgotten world, a silent partner in Earth's evolution, a guardian of secrets written in rock, ice, and shadow. Now we'll step deeper into the moon's slow drift, its hidden water mines, its eternal polar night, and the strange ways the moon shapes life without ever touching us. The moon moves away from us so slowly that if you tried to measure it with your eyes, you'd have to stare at the sky for millions of years without blinking. And honestly, there are better hobbies. But even though the moon's drift is tiny, just a few centimeters a year, the consequences ripple across Earth in ways we rarely think about. Because as the moon drifts away, Earth's rotation continues to slow. Our days grow longer by tiny fractions of seconds. Nothing noticeable, not enough extra time to avoid emails or escape responsibilities, but the effect is real. In hundreds of millions of years, a day on Earth will be longer by hours. Imagine that. A future Earth, where sunsets stretch lazily and nights take their time arriving. The drift also shapes tides. With the moon farther away, the tides soften, losing a little of their ancient drama. Long ago, when the moon was closer, the tides surged like cosmic breaths, rising and falling with enormous power. Early life in Earth's tidal pools experienced those wild rhythms daily, waves carving new paths, shorelines shifting, ecosystems changing. Some scientists believe these intense tides helped life crawl from water to land. Without the moon's push and pull, perhaps no creature would have ever attempted the first shaky step onto ancient sand. This relationship, the moon drifts, Earth slows, is like an old couple walking together. One supports the other, both adjusting, both changing, but never letting go. And even though the moon is drifting away, it is not leaving in any dramatic sense. It is simply finding a slightly roomier orbit while still keeping an eye on us. But the moon's drift isn't its only quiet mystery. To really understand the moon's hidden world, you have to journey to its poles, places where sunlight behaves strangely, where shadows are eternal, and where the cold becomes unimaginable. Near the moon's south pole, you'll find craters so deep that sunlight has not touched their floors for billions of years. The sun swings low on the lunar horizon, never rising high enough to illuminate these places. They are pockets of permanent shadow, small worlds inside a larger world, untouched by day, frozen in darkness so complete, it almost feels physical. These regions are unimaginably cold. Temperatures dip below 240°C. That kind of cold doesn't just chill, it stops time. Molecules barely move. Ice stays unchanged for eons. If the moon has a heart of mystery, it beats in those frozen pits. And in these abyssal shadows lies one of the most important discoveries in modern astronomy: water ice. Tiny grains, thin layers sometimes mixed with moon dust, sometimes locked within crystals, but undeniably water. Water that has survived longer than most mountains on Earth. Where did it come from? Some of it arrived on comets, messy cosmic snowballs that shattered across the lunar surface. Some came from asteroids rich in hydrated minerals. Some was created when solar wind, high-energy particles from the sun, collided with oxygen in the lunar soil, forming tiny droplets molecule by molecule. And across billions of years, bit by bit, all of it settled into the permanent darkness of the poles. Those icy grains may one day fuel human missions. Melt it, drink it, split it into oxygen and hydrogen, breathe it, burn it, store it. The moon could become a refueling station, a cosmic pit stop for deeper journeys. But tonight, think of that ice not as a resource, but as a relic. Each frozen grain is a whisper from deep time. Some are probably older than Earth's continents, some older than the first forests, some older than the oxygen in our atmosphere. To touch that ice would be to touch the early solar system, untouched, unchanged, unbothered. It is a strange thought. The moon looks dead, still, barren, yet holds the oldest water we can access without leaving our solar neighbourhood. Not that the moon is completely quiet. It shifts. It moves. It creaks. Yes, the moon has moonquakes. Some are caused by the tidal tug of Earth, some by temperature changes, and a few by deeper tectonic movements we still don't fully understand. The Apollo astronauts even reported that when the moon quaked, it kept ringing like a bell, a soft echo lasting for minutes. Scientists explain this through its dry, rigid crust. But still, the idea of a moon that rings is poetic in a way the universe rarely allows. If the moon could talk after a moonquake, it might say, "Oops, sorry, just settling, carry on." But for all its quakes, all its icy secrets, the moon still feels peaceful. Maybe it's the silence. There's no wind, no rushing air, no rustling leaves. Footprints stay perfectly preserved because nothing comes to erase them. Take a walk on the moon, and your prints could last longer than any civilization on Earth. And perhaps the greatest symbol of this silence is the far side, the half we never see. It's not darker, just never facing us. And without Earth's gravitational smoothing, the far side is rougher, more cratered, more ancient. It's the moon's private journal, every mark a memory of asteroids and time. If the near side is the moon's familiar face, the far side is its soul. Now imagine standing at the edge of the moon's south pole. The sun skims the horizon endlessly, never rising, never setting. Shadows stretch for miles. The ground is silver grey, silent, glowing faintly with reflected light. Just beyond your view, craters sink into pure blackness, the realm of eternal night. You see Earth hanging low in the sky, steady and pale blue. The world is quiet enough that you might hear your own heartbeat in your suit. The moon's drifting, its tidal locking, its frozen craters, all of it alive in this one moment. And then you take a step, and your footprint settles into dust older than life. If you slipped and fell there, your tumble would probably be immortalized for a few million years. A cosmic oops, preserved for future explorers. The moon is not just a world of rock, It is a world of patience, a place where shadows last longer than civilizations, where ancient water sleeps untouched, where time moves so slowly it feels like dreaming. Now, we'll descend deeper into the moon's past, into the violence that shaped it, the strange birth that forged it, and how this ancient companion ended up becoming Earth's quiet protector for billions of years. To understand the moon you see each night, the calm disk glowing above rooftops and rivers, you must step back to a time when nothing about it was calm. The serene companion that watches over you now was once part of an event so violent that, if you could witness it, the sky itself would feel too small to hold what happened. Long before life even dreamed of existing, Earth was young, molten, unstable, more fire than planet. It spun quickly, giving off heat like a great glowing ember drifting through space. And then, out of that early darkness, came Theia. Theia wasn't a comet or an asteroid. It was a world, a whole world, the size of Mars, carrying its own mountains, metals, and molten heart. And it was headed straight for Earth. When these two planets collided, the impact wasn't loud. Space has no sound, but it was overwhelming. Mountains vaporized, oceans boiled away instantly, rock turned into a bright, molten spray that arced into orbit. Imagine an explosion so enormous it could swallow continents and still hunger for more. But from that chaos came something unexpectedly gentle, a glowing ring of debris encircling the Earth, shimmering like a cosmic halo. Over time, gravity shaped that ring into a single sphere, a new world, a child born from destruction. This was the moon, still molten, still glowing red, cooling slowly like a heated iron left under a night sky. Its early face would have been unrecognizable. No craters, no dark seas, only endless oceans of magma hardening into stone. As the moon cooled, its surface cracked like drying clay. Massive volcanic eruptions spilled lava across the young crust, creating the lunar Maria, the dark seas you see from Earth. They are not seas of water, but seas of memory. Each smooth patch is a scar left from ancient impacts or eruptions, healed over by lava that once glowed like liquid fire. While the near side smoothed out over time, the far side remained wild. Its crust is thicker, likely because after the impact, Earth's heat kept the near side warmer longer, making the crust thinner there. The far side cooled faster, hardened sooner, and became a fortress of ancient rock. Even now, scientists are still unsure why the two sides look so different. The moon, like many old friends, keeps some of its secrets quiet. But perhaps the most surprising thing is this. Without the moon, Earth might not be the calm home you know. The moon stabilizes Earth's tilt. Without that stability, our seasons would wobble wildly. Winters could plunge into frozen extremes. Summers could scorch continents. Some centuries might have no winters at all. Others might be locked in permanent ice. Life would struggle to adapt. Early humans would have had a very different world to walk into. Instead, the moon steadies us, like a hand placed gently on a spinning top. It also softens the pull of the sun. Without the moon's influence, its gravity balancing Earth's tilt, we'd sway more violently. Imagine a planet constantly changing direction, its axis tilting like an unsteady dancer. Ocean currents would become unpredictable, weather patterns unstable, climate itself might teeter into chaos. The moon prevents that. It has been Earth's quiet guardian for billions of years. If the moon could speak, it might shrug modestly and say something like, "Oh, it's nothing, just keeping your planet from flipping over." But it matters. Every tide, every season, every stable climate zone you've ever lived in exists partly because the moon stays beside us. It's strange to think that a rock drifting hundreds of thousands of miles away influences the world beneath your feet, yet every crashing wave, every rising tide, every peaceful shift between winter and spring holds a faint echo of the moon's presence. And this influence reaches beyond oceans. Animals feel it. Birds navigate partly by moonlight. Coral reefs synchronize their spawning with lunar cycles, entire reefs releasing new life in shimmering clouds timed to the moon's glow. Some creatures even use the moon's phases to migrate, hunt, or rest. In a subtle way, the moon is part of Earth's heartbeat, but for all its influence, the moon is still a lonely world. Days last for 2 Earth weeks. Nights last just as long. Temperatures swing violently, from blistering heat to unimaginable cold. Yet even in these harsh conditions, the moon carries a softness in its stillness. Its silence is complete. Stand on the lunar surface and you would hear nothing. Not the wind. There is none. Not rustling dust. There is no atmosphere to move it. Not even the sound of your own breath, unless you're inside a suit. Your heartbeat might be the only thing reminding you that you're still alive. With such silence comes a strange, calming feeling. Astronauts described the moon as beautiful, yes, but also deeply peaceful, almost meditative, with no noise, no rushing air, no clouds, no blue sky, no distractions. Time seems to stretch out, slow down, and breathe. Even footprints stay forever. The moon keeps everything. Every boot print from every astronaut remains undisturbed, perfectly preserved, like notes pressed between the pages of an ancient book. If you tripped and fell on the moon, well, your graceful tumble might be immortalized for millions of years, a cosmic blooper frozen in dust. Yet for all its calm exterior, the moon still trembles inside. Lunar quakes ripple through its crust, sometimes triggered by Earth's gravity tugging at the moon's interior. Other times, the temperature swing from night to day shrinks and expands the crust, making it crack softly. These quakes can last longer than earthquakes, because the moon's crust is dry and rigid, letting vibrations echo instead of fading quickly. Imagine the moon quietly stretching after a long cosmic nap. But perhaps the most fascinating hidden layer of the moon's story lies beneath its surface, in the deep fractures left from its molten past. Beneath the crust may lie pockets of ancient magma reservoirs, long dormant, but still whispering of a time when the moon was alive with fire. And even closer to the surface, the solar wind continuously interacts with lunar soil, creating microscopic beads of water. It's not the kind of water you drink directly, unless you enjoy chewing on rocks, but it tells us that the moon is not as dry as it once seemed. Water also hides in beads of volcanic glass scattered across the surface, tiny glittering droplets formed in violent eruptions long ago. These beads contain traces of hydrogen and oxygen locked away since ancient times. The more we study them, the more the moon feels less like a barren wasteland and more like a museum, a place where evidence of the solar system's earliest days is archived grain by grain. We'll continue by diving deeper into those ancient volcanic scars, the silent seas of basalt, the moon's lost magnetic field, and the strange clues hidden in its crust that reveal how it evolved over billions of years, all while keeping its face so calm and quiet that almost nobody suspects the world it once was. If you could peel back the moon's quiet, silver surface like the cover of a very old book, you'd find a history written in fire. Today, the moon seems peaceful, a soft lantern in the darkness, but beneath its stillness lies the memory of a world that once burned with molten oceans and rivers of glowing rock. When the moon first solidified after its violent birth, its crust wasn't uniform. The surface had basins, cracks, and magma pockets struggling to cool. Over time, the heavier materials sank toward the center, while lighter minerals floated upward, creating layers like a cosmic parfait. The outer crust hardened, but beneath it, molten reservoirs lingered for hundreds of millions of years. This ancient fire left its marks everywhere. Those dark, wide plains you see from Earth, the Maria, are actually the scars of enormous impacts. When space rocks crashed into the moon billions of years ago, they hit with such force that they cracked the crust, letting magma gush upward until the basins filled like giant bowls of lava. When that lava cooled, it turned into the smooth, dark patches we admire today. Most people look at the moon's face and imagine a calm, expressionless surface. But now you know. you're actually staring at dried lava seas created by cosmic violence. And ironically, those impacts may have helped cool the moon from the outside in. Every crater, every basin, every volcanic plain is part of the story of a world that slowly lost its fire. Yet the moon still holds some warmth inside, not enough to burst into new eruptions, but enough for scientists to believe that parts of its mantle remain warm, maybe even partially molten. Deep below the surface, heat lingers like embers under thick ash. If the moon could sigh, it might sound like a tired old stove cooling down after a long day. But the moon's interior holds a stranger mystery, a magnetic field that once existed, then faded. Long ago, the moon had its own magnetism, a protective shield that Earth still enjoys. This ancient magnetic field was strong enough to leave traces in lunar rocks, but as the moon cooled, its magnetic heartbeat weakened and disappeared. Why did it fade? Perhaps its molten core slowed, perhaps the heat escaped too quickly, or perhaps the moon's rotation wasn't enough to keep the magnetic engine running. Whatever the reason, the moon today sits exposed, without a magnetic field, without an atmosphere, silently weathered by the solar wind, which is why the lunar surface still carries particles from the sun, embedded in dust that hasn't moved in billions of years. If dust could accumulate stories, the moon would be the greatest librarian in the solar system. And those stories are etched into every crater. The moon has no wind or water to smooth its surface, so every impact remains like a photograph frozen in time. Some craters are older than entire continents on Earth. Others are relatively young, fresh scars from rocks that slammed into the moon only a few million years ago. Then there's the South Pole Aitken Basin, one of the largest impact basins in the solar system. If Earth ever suffered an impact that big, the planet wouldn't just be scarred, it might not exist at all, but the moon survived, absorbing the blow like an ancient shield. And surprisingly, the basin may hold minerals not found anywhere else on the moon. Scientists even think some of the rocks there come from deep inside the lunar mantle, pieces of the moon's interior thrown up by the force of the impact. It's as if the moon briefly turned itself inside out and left the evidence behind. But not all of the moon's geology is ancient. Some features, like the bright rays that stretch across the surface from young craters, are relatively recent. The famous Tycho crater, with its striking rays spreading across thousands of kilometers, is only about 108 million years old. Only, of course, is a matter of perspective. By lunar standards, it's practically a toddler. The moon also has long winding valleys known as rills, remnants of collapsed lava tubes, or ancient channels where molten rock once flowed. If you walked inside one, you might be stepping into tunnels large enough to hide skyscrapers. Future explorers might even shelter in them, safe from radiation and micrometeorites. Imagine that, humanity's first lunar neighborhoods tucked inside ancient lava tubes, real estate built by volcanoes that haven't erupted for billions of years. The moon also holds strange twisting patterns on its surface called swirls, bright patches of soil shaped like cosmic brushstrokes. They are magnetic, oddly shaped, and still not fully understood. One of the most famous is Rhina Gamma, a place so visually strange that early astronomers thought it might be evidence of something artificial. It's not alien, of course, just the moon being mysterious again. If the moon had a personality, this would be the part where it casually mentions, "Oh yes, I have glowing magnetic zebra stripes. I thought you noticed." These swirls are likely caused by ancient magnetic anomalies interacting with the solar wind, but the moon never explains its strange features too clearly. It leaves clues, and we piece the story together grain by grain. And speaking of grains, the moon's dust is one of its most unique features. Lunar dust isn't like Earth's dust. It's sharp, jagged, almost clingy. Without wind or water to smooth it, each grain is like microscopic glass. Astronauts found that it stuck to everything: suits, tools, visors, as if the moon wanted to send a small souvenir home with them. One astronaut joked that lunar dust smelled like burnt gunpowder when it got inside the spacecraft. Not the scent you expect from a peaceful celestial companion, but even that dust holds secrets, fragments of ancient impacts, volcanic eruptions, and solar particles. In every tiny grain lies a geological autobiography stretching across billions of years. And as you imagine those grains, still resting quietly on the moon's silent plains, think about how long they've waited. They sit unchanged, untouched, unmoved. A footprint on the moon could last longer than the pyramids, longer than human civilization, longer than our species. This is the strange beauty of the moon. It is a world without forgetting. It remembers every impact, every wave of magma, every grain of ice, every flicker of sunlight, every tremble of its cooling crust. Our journey turns to the moon's future, the changes it will undergo as it slowly drifts away, what humanity might build there, how lunar water and lava tubes could support life, and why the moon may one day become our second home. The moon may seem unchanging, but it carries a quiet momentum toward the future. Even now, as you breathe gently and settle deeper into the calm of the night, the moon is drifting away, millimeter by millimeter, year by year, reshaping what lies ahead for both itself and the world beneath it. 1 billion years from now, the moon will be noticeably farther from Earth. Sunsets will linger, tides will weaken further, the nights will subtly shift, just enough for distant descendants of humanity, or whatever life remains, to feel that something is different, even if they can't quite name it. It's strange to imagine the distant future while lying still in your bed tonight, but that is what the moon does. It stretches your thoughts across time, expands your sense of scale, and makes you feel both incredibly small and wonderfully connected to the cosmos. As the moon drifts, Earth will spin more slowly. One day, hundreds of millions of years from now, a single Earth day may last 30 hours. People might finally get the sleep schedule they always wanted, although knowing humans, they might invent new reasons to stay awake anyway. But before those distant ages unfold, humanity's future with the moon is beginning now. You are living in the first chapter of a new lunar era, one in which the moon is no longer just a companion in the sky, but a destination, a frontier, a home. The discovery of lunar water transformed everything. What once seemed like a barren wasteland has become a potential oasis. Water means so much more than drinking. Water means oxygen. Water means rocket fuel. Water means survival. Those ancient ice grains tucked away in permanent shadow could shape the future of space exploration. Scientists imagine bases built near the lunar poles, using sunlight from the crater rims and harvesting water from the deep cold shadows below. It's poetic in a way, humanity reaching into one of the darkest places in the solar system to find the thing that sustains life. You can picture it, a small cluster of habitats glowing faintly under the black sky, Earth hanging above like a blue jewel, astronauts moving slowly across the dust, their footsteps joining the quiet archives of the moon's surface. In those early lunar settlements, engineers might build shields from lunar soil, stacking it into protective walls against radiation. Farmers may experiment with growing plants inside sealed sunlit domes, where lettuce and tomatoes bask under artificial light, while the real sun rises only once every 2 Earth weeks. And deep underground, explorers might venture into lava tubes, those massive tunnels carved by ancient volcanic flows. Some are large enough to hold whole cities, wide, arching chambers protected from radiation, temperature swings, and micrometeorites. Natural shelters formed billions of years before humans existed. Imagine stepping into one, darkness so complete your eyes need a moment to understand it. Then, slowly, the soft glow of your lights reveals an enormous cavern, stretching farther than a stadium, walls of basalt, ceilings curving like the ribs of a gigantic fossil, silence deep as the moon itself. If humanity ever builds a long-term home on the moon, those lava tubes may become the safest places to live. Moon cities tucked into ancient stone, warmed and illuminated by human hands. There's something comforting in that thought, like humanity finding shelter in the bones of a world that once burned with fire. But even with future settlements, the moon won't lose its sense of wonder. Astronauts will still step outside their habitats and stare at Earth hanging above the horizon, glowing softly. The view will never get old. The silence will never feel mundane. Every sunrise will last 2 Earth weeks, light creeping across the surface like a slow breath. Scientists also believe that future missions could uncover new secrets hidden deep in the moon's crust. There might be minerals untouched since the solar system formed, chemical fingerprints of ancient eruptions, or even samples of Earth's earliest rocks, blasted into space by the colossal impacts that shaped our world. The moon may hold pieces of Earth older than anything on Earth itself. In that sense, exploring the moon is like exploring our own past, walking through a vault of time, brushing dust off the pages of a story written long before humans appeared. And then there's the possibility, faint but endlessly fascinating, that the moon could help us reach other worlds. Using its low gravity, rockets launched from lunar bases would require far less energy than taking off from Earth. The moon could become a gateway to Mars, the outer planets, or even the icy moons beyond Jupiter. It's almost humorous to think that a quiet, dusty world that has done nothing for billions of years except orbit and shine might become humanity's spaceport. And yet, it could. But perhaps the moon's greatest role is something less physical, less practical, and more emotional. The moon has always been a mirror for our imagination. Ancient civilizations carved stories around it, used it to mark seasons, guided their oceans and their festivals by its glow. Poets wrote to it, lovers walked under it, travelers navigated by it, and children around the world have fallen asleep to its gentle light. Even in the future, with lunar cities, ice mines, and scientific outposts, the moon will remain what it has always been. A companion, a comfort, a symbol of calm. As you lie here tonight, think of the moon not as something distant, but as something familiar, something that has watched every generation before you, and will watch countless generations after, something that drifts away slowly but never leaves, something shaped by fire but living now in perfect quiet, something that holds secrets in its shadows and memories in its dust. And above all, something that shines, softly, steadily, patiently, through every night of your life. The moon has been with Earth since before there were oceans, before there were forests, before there was even a sky you would recognize. It will be here long after everything you know has changed. It is a bridge between the ancient past and the distant future. A silent guardian, a drifting storyteller, a keeper of time, and perhaps in its own way, the moon is a reminder that even the quietest things in the universe can shape worlds. So as you drift deeper into rest, let the moon carry your thoughts the way it carries the tides, gently, slowly, and always toward calm.